to also do quality of service control. So it really helps that network engineer manage the entire enterprise network from the LAN access to the WAN edge off to remote sites. So it really helps to manage this entire network. Now LiveAction primarily helps the network engineer in 4 distinct areas. It helps that network engineer to deploy and enable all that cool technology that you see in Cisco devices today, like NBAR2, quality of service, AVC, flexible Netflow, Medianet, IP/SLA. It helps you also to analyze by monitoring, visualize, and alerting on the general health of the applications that's running on the network. Thirdly, it helps to troubleshoot those application quality of experience issues by pinpointing where those problems are occurring within the network. And then finally, LiveAction helps to fix those quality of experience issues by means of its rich quality of service control. Now, LiveAction discovers the devices and then puts it onto this topology map that you're seeing here. It audits the capabilities of the device to get its bearings to really know what that device supports, like AVC, Medianet, NBAR, and the like. Now, what you're looking at right now is the system topology view within LiveAction. And as you can see, this system topology view is very dynamic. You can move things around and help to really recreate the mental model of the network engineer. I'm just zooming in and out of this topology using the scroll button on my mouse. Now, this big circle represents a router or a switch. In this case, it's a Cisco 2921 ISRG2 router. And that little circle on the inside, that represents an interface. The top portion, ingress bandwidth, and the bottom portion, egress bandwidth. So you're really able to see quickly and easily how that network topology looks as if it's a dynamic Visio diagram. Now, there's many tools out there that provide charts and graphs to be able to help you understand that traffic flow. Well, LiveAction, we like to take it a step further and help recreate this mental model of the network engineer as you really consider flows and traffic traversing the network in many different ways. For example, by overlaying our first technology that we'll be discussing, which is Netflow, by just overlaying that flow information across the system topology, you're really able to see very quickly how that flow goes from a headquarters site like this device out in San Francisco, clear across the service provider network, all the way to that remote site, which is represented by this other 2921 on the far end. You can really think of Netflow and LiveAction with the system topology view as if you're going into a dark room. By turning on the lights, that's just like turning on Netflow within the network. Without the lights in the room, it's like you can't get your bearings as far as where anything is. You're going to be bumping into chairs or tables and other things. But once you turn on those lights, you really have unsurpassed situational awareness. You know where everything is, and you can navigate that room perfectly. Just like with Netflow, by turning on the lights within the room, you're really able to see how those flows are traversing the network. Now, by simply double-clicking on a device or by clicking on a device in the table view on the left-hand side, it'll bring you into the real-time device view. And really what this is it's like a real-time report. Now, the bottom portion represents the device, and right now we're looking at all flow technologies that are ingressing and egressing this particular 2921 ISRG2 router. Now, by going into various flow technologies that we support, like basic flow, this is traditional Netflow or flexible Netflow. We also support Medianet to help you understand that rich media applications that's running on the network, and then AVC for application response time, NCell, high-speed logging, PFR, as well as wireless. Now, by just going into basic flow, for example, you're able to see all that Netflow information that you're very familiar with, that 7-tuple of data that you're getting, like source and destination IP addresses. We also subscribe to a geolocation database, so you'll see flows coming in and out of various countries if that's occurring on your network. For example, Germany, Korea, Australia, China, and the like. We also added in, we pushed a special Netflow configuration to also include NBAR information within this record. So you see things like Netflix, SharePoint, POP3, and many other different applications. Now, a cool workflow within LiveAction is simply being able to right-click on a flow, and we have the capability to read the running configuration of the device and also to push various configurations as well. So you can right-click on a flow and create an ACL based off of that flow. Now you can use this ACL to tie it to an ingress ACL and block traffic coming from various locations, or you can use it within a quality of service policy that we're going to be getting into a little bit later. Other flow technologies that we support are Medianet, like we were talking about earlier, and that again helps you to understand all of that Cisco phone traffic that's going on in the network, telepresence, RTP. We're going to give you information about packet loss, media servers, and jitter, and many other different pieces of information within Medianet. AVC is that flip side of the puzzle, like you folks are familiar with. Being able to understand all those applications that are running on the network, those critical applications, and then being able to isolate what the transaction times are, to eliminate the finger pointing between the network team and the server team. Is it a network delay issue? Well, maybe the network guys need to take a look at that. If it's an application delay issue, then you know that the server team needs to be able to look at that. So really being able to unleash all of this power within the Cisco routers and switches really helps network engineers today. A lot of our customers really appreciate all of this because they don't have to deploy very expensive hardware probes into their network and plan for network downtime. And those hardware probes may also be another point of failure within the enterprise that they have to be mindful of. So by using all of this cool technology, they're able to answer these questions about application performance and the quality of experience. Now, one other cool feature within LiveAction is the historical playback. By just clicking on that button there, you can think of this as a Netflow DVR. So let's say something occurred on the network early on and you needed to be able to go back in time and see what happened. You can literally go back in time and see all those flows ingressing and egressing various devices by just clicking play on this historical playback feature, as if you are sitting right on the console looking at all these flows coming in and out of your network. LiveAction also has many dashboards, charts, and graphs as well. That's not something that we forgot about. So let me just show you some of that as well. So by clicking on the dashboard, and that's the button there, we're going to be able to show you an overall view of how your network is performing. Now first off, I'm going to start off with the system view. Now LiveAction is able to give you information about various threshold crossing alerts that are occurring within the network. This is all very customizable within the software. So for example, flow alerts, there's quite a few. There's some quality of service alerts. All of these things can be configured within LiveAction. We give you system status like top 10 CPU utilization, top 10 memory utilization, and other things as well. Now, one other cool feature within LiveAction is the ability to add semantic knowledge within the tool about your network. So for example, various devices, you're able to tag those devices as being in various locations like Los Angeles, San Jose, San Francisco, New York, and other places. You're also able to label the WAN edge interface on these devices. So for example, in this case, I labeled some of these interfaces that are going off to service providers like Comcast, AT&T, and Verizon. We also labeled the San Francisco device as having 2 WAN links for PFR, and we're going to be going into that in just a little bit. We also now have the ability to set the capacity of these WAN links also. So many times on that enterprise, you're going to have a sub-line rate handoff to the service provider. So it might be a gigabit Ethernet link, but you're really only subscribing to 20 or 15 megabits per second or more. Now, by being able to set the capacity, we're then able to calculate the percent utilization of that capacity that handoff to the service provider. So what is it? What is that input average of bandwidth being used coming into the network? What is that output average? We also add features like giving you CPU utilization and then memory utilization on these various sites. We have a rich reporting capability as well within LiveAction. So being able to go over to the flow technology in this dashboard, we're also able to show you that there's threshold crossing alerts that could be occurring within the network for various features that are related to flow, like high media packet loss or PFR out of policy events. Top 10 source and destination addresses are also able to get visibility there within the widgets. And then also farther down, we're able to give you more information about that applications that are running on the network. So especially is that important for the intelligent WAN. From a media monitoring perspective, we have top 10 voice and video performance flows. You can drill down into this and see exactly where these flows are traversing your network and which devices are giving you that data. And then also that top 10 application performance. Now this is able to give you information at top level about application delay or network delay. Now you're able to then go into individual applications and get more information about which device that we're getting this information from. Then you can right-click and then run a top application performance report, for example. And this will give you information about all the applications running on the network, what the application delay is, and so forth. By right-clicking again on a particular application of choice, in this case Citrix, you're able to bring up another report to view this application over time. And let me show you how that works. We're gathering all that data, and for Citrix, we're able to report on its performance rate, what the network delay is, how many sessions of Citrix is occurring, what is the total number of bytes that's coming in for all these sessions. Is there a lot of retransmissions occurring for this critical application? If there are, then perhaps that's going to be affecting the quality of experience for users because that means that there's a good amount of packet loss. And then on the very bottom, we're going to give you information about all the Citrix flows that generate this report. So we're able to dive in very deep into various applications and generate reports within the LiveAction software. Other reports of interest may be regarding URLs. What websites are people within the enterprise going to? And maybe you might be going to Cisco or actionpack.com, Yahoo, aroundhawaii.com, or various other places. By being able to generate reports based off of AVC on HTTP host names, that's really key to a lot of our customers. And then finally, another point that I wanted to bring out is being able to run reports about policy classification. So AVC now is also able to give you information about which policy and which class this particular flow is being hit on. And then we're able to show you that policy and then also that classification hierarchy that's being affected. Now the question may come up though, now that you can run all these reports, you get a lot of visibility with Medianet and AVC and so forth. Now how do you go about configuring this? Now for a poor CCNA, maybe his manager just got back from Cisco Live and he learned about all these cool new technologies that are coming out from Cisco, and he's now tasked with the effort of being able to configure their devices for all of these cool technologies that export Netflow information. Well, LiveAction will take away the complexities of this. You can just go ahead and use LiveAction's flow configuration utility and then be able to provision the devices for those Netflow technologies. So for example, we have a new router here that we just deployed within San Jose, and we don't have any visibility at the moment. There's no flows coming in to LiveAction for this particular device. By just selecting the flow drop-down menu and configure flow, we're able to find that new device. We talked about that semantic knowledge a little bit earlier. We labeled this device as belonging in San Jose. So I'm going to look for that San Jose device. There it is, the 891. I'm going to configure it. Right now, LiveAction is reading in the running configuration to see what other flow technologies may be configured. Now, this is a greenfield device, so I'm just going to go ahead and enable visibility. We have various types of flow that we can enable within LiveAction. For example, general traffic statistics using flexible Netflow. I'm going to go ahead and turn that on both my interfaces. We also labeled the interfaces of interest too. For example, Gigabit Ethernet 0 is a WAN interface going off to AT&T. VLAN 102 is a LAN interface. So on the WAN interface, I'm going to enable application response time measurements for AVC. On both interfaces, I'm also going to enable voice and video performance monitoring for media monitoring. Now, LiveAction can then preview the CLI. This is the set of commands that we'll be pushing down to the device to enable this technology. I'll save to the device. It's generating the commands and pushing those commands to the 891 router. Now we just need to sit back and wait for all that flow information to come into LiveAction. That was pushed down successfully. So let's go ahead and wait for a little bit. And we should be able to see flow come into this device, and there it is. Yeah? So all that visibility is now provisioned by LiveAction to give you information about all the applications that are running within the network, like Citrix, HTTP, CIFS, there's some BitTorrent a little bit farther down, MySQL, WebEx, and many different other things. Now we provisioned it for all the various technology types like basic flow with general traffic statistic information, Medianet as well. And notice that some of these flows are showing up as red, and that's because there was a threshold crossing alert that was happening. By scrolling to the right, we're able to see that this particular field is being highlighted in red, and that's for packet loss. Now, that packet loss is the threshold crossing event that occurred. Now, that could really be affecting telepresence or other technologies. Now we have that visibility in this San Jose device. AVC for all that TCP critical applications. Now we're able to see traffic, transaction times, network delay, and application delay. So it was that simple to be able to configure flow using LiveAction. The next feature I'd like to go over is LiveAction's capabilities for PFR. So let me just go ahead and present that for you. And what we're really helping our customers with is being able to visualize performance routing. Now, a lot of our customers really like performance routing because it's application routing. They don't have to wait for more of a catastrophic event where maybe a link goes down and then wait for OSPF or BGP or EIGRP to reconverge. But by really looking at the performance of the application, it's able to make intelligent decisions. So in this particular instance, we're primarily protecting voice traffic. Now, this device, this 2921, is an MCBR pair, and it's located out in San Francisco. It has two WAN links, one going off to an AT&T service provider, and then the other going off to Verizon. Now, let me just scroll out. I have some annotations on this topology, and there's a Verizon service provider. All that traffic is going off to a remote branch, and that's represented by this 2921 router. Now, this voice flow is traversing the network, but what happens if there's a brownout scenario? Perhaps there's some packet loss, but very minimal packet loss. Maybe there's excess delay. We're going to induce this delay and packet loss using a link-tripy. So there's a brownout scenario that could be occurring farther down in the service provider core. Now let's go ahead and induce that brownout. So I'm just going to turn on that WAN emulation. Now by going back to LiveAction and double-clicking on this 2921, let's look at PFR records that are coming in and out of this system. Now what we're waiting for is after that impairment was put in place, PFR is going to be able to show you that there is an out-of-policy event for your critical voice applications. Now, LiveAction is just waiting for that record to come in, and there it is. PFR from this 2921 router sent records to LiveAction to say that there was an unreachable criteria, there was packet loss that was occurring, and then it was able to then reconverge the network around that brownout scenario to be able to protect that critical voice application. Now, by we see that there was a threshold crossing alert within the table view. Well, by double-clicking on alerts, we're then able to look for that PFR alert that just came in. And there it is. There was an unreachable event that occurred within PFR. But by looking at the historical search, you're able to then key in on that specific PFR alert. Click on Execute, and there it is. We can then open a report with regards to PFR audit policy. So we're noticing that at this particular time, around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, there was that unreachable event. Now that was because there was some brownout scenarios and there was some packet loss going out further down within the service provider core. Now PFR reconverged, and we can verify that by going back to the system topology. Now it was originally going over that northern path to AT&T. But by refreshing the flows within LiveAction, we're able to see that PFR reconverged and that that application, that voice traffic, was protected. So that flow is now going over that southern path over Verizon. By refreshing again, we're going to just see that flow is timing out over the northern path, and that all that flow is going over that southern path, and there you see it there. So by using LiveAction, you really get situational awareness with PFR. We're able to show you about alerts that came in because of audit policy events, and then using LiveAction's rich visualization, you're able to confirm that the path is taking a secondary path and that critical voice application is being protected. Now, PFR protects the quality of experience for users for many of these types of applications, but LiveAction also allows for quality of service control as well. Now, let me just jump right into quality of service. Now, in this case, I'm going to go over to this 1941 router. We're going to be looking specifically at this gigabit Ethernet 00 link, and this is a device out in Los Angeles. I'm going to go ahead and look at both input and output on this WAN device, on this WAN interface. Now, coming into the enterprise, there's many applications like iTunes, WebEx, RTP, BitTorrent, Citrix, and the like. Egressing out of this WAN edge interface, similar applications like WebEx, Citrix, also Office 365 for that cloud applications that many of our customers are using. Now, LiveAction incorporated a lot of the best practices within Cisco. So for example, SRND 4.0 for Medianet QoS, we actually have best practice templates built within LiveAction. Let me just go over to that output view for gigabit Ethernet 00, and there's a 12-class Medianet model of policy, QoS policy, that's tied to this interface. It's also a hierarchical policy, so it's a policy within another policy, so we're shaping to a certain level going off to that service provider. Now, what if you needed to be able to configure something or make a change? LiveAction doesn't just monitor quality of service, but we're also able to control quality of service as well. So an example of that is simply right-clicking on this policy information down below, and let's adjust the output quality of service. Now, LiveAction is reading in the running configuration of the device, getting its bearings, and we're able to see that this particular policy, WAN shaping, has these classes within it. Now, we can allocate more hierarchical shaping or more bandwidth as if we're subscribed to more bandwidth from the service provider. Maybe we'll update that to 5 megabits per 5 megabit service. And then we can also change the voice class perhaps and give it a little bit more bandwidth to 12%. Maybe we'll change broadcast video to 8. Now, by clicking on the preview CLI button, you're able to see exactly which commands LiveAction will be pushing down to the device. We'll take away all that complexity from the end user by being able to manage quality of service for you. Now, even very experienced network engineers can take full advantage of LiveAction's UI capability. Because can you imagine just fat-fingering a command, perhaps fat-fingering the name of a particular class? Now, it could cause a tremendous amount of time to be able to troubleshoot what problems may be occurring. Now, let me just close that out and that was just an example. But also LiveAction has a full managed QoS dialog as well. We're again reading in the running configuration of the device, getting it an understanding of all the policies that are configured on the router, all of the classes that are configured as well, and then the interfaces, which policies are configured to each individual interface. Now, LiveAction has the ability to configure NBAR classification to really help with that intelligent WAN as you protect critical applications that are ingressing and egressing the enterprise network. Now, let's say, for example, that you wanted to add new class match statements to class voice. Now, according to the SRND, you're primarily matching on EF traffic. But how about if we also want to match on NBAR? So, for example, Cisco phones. We can do that within LiveAction also. So let's just go down to Cisco phone within NBAR. There it is there. We can just add that match statement. Now, also, LiveAction has the ability to manage NBAR using groups and adding match statements accordingly. So let's go ahead and find a particular category, and we'll go down to voice and video. Let's select that. Now, by adding this match statement, you're basically saying, in this class, go ahead and match on all of these various types of applications within your voice class. By previewing the CLI, you're able to see that this is the commands that will be pushed down to the router. So just another example of how LiveAction can manage quality of service. Now, the flip side was, let's see what's happening on input. We actually have a policer here for BitTorrent. So perhaps because of compliance or regulations that we need to abide by, you need to reduce BitTorrent traffic or completely eliminate it. Now, BitTorrent is an evasive protocol, so it's going to port hop to survive. But NBAR has the ability to really track that application even if it's port hopping. So by adjusting the input QoS policy, we actually were able to dynamically police that scavenger traffic, that BitTorrent traffic, to stay within compliance. And so we policed it down to 8 kilobits per second, and we can see that the device is actually dropping that traffic because of this amber color of the class. It just shows that it's dropping that BitTorrent traffic. So within LiveAction, we have a full QoS policy editor to really help you manage the applications and control the quality of experience for your end users within the enterprise. Now, one final area that I wanted to talk about also with regards to LiveAction is a little bit separate from the WAN, but it's also something of big concern for many network engineers and companies out there, and that's the explosion of BYOD devices within the network. Now, LiveAction has the ability to bring in wireless Netflow as well. Now, we've been also working with the 3850 team and the 2960X team for quite some time. This 3850 in the bottom right-hand corner is a converged wired and wireless device. By double-clicking on this device, and actually all the flows are coming from an iPad, so you can see many different applications running in and out throughout this system. By double-clicking on this device, we're able to see a lot of information about wireless traffic, and then also identity information. So, for example, John Doe on this iPad is actually going to Hulu. He's watching Hulu movies. He's looking at Netflix. He may also be doing some Facebook, as you see here, maybe some other work as well, looking at the various applications that are coming in from this converged wired and wireless device. Now, we have a wealth of different reports that are presented within LiveAction. So, for example, on a per access point, we can show you all the applications running on that access point. Per SSID, all those applications. And then from a top analysis perspective, we can see exactly which applications John Doe is using on his iPad, which may also include Citrix and RTP. So LiveAction really has the ability to give you information and unsurpassed knowledge from the LAN all the way through your enterprise and going out to the WAN edge. Now, in this particular case, with this BYOD environment, we're seeing that this traffic is coming in on a 3850, going up to distribution switches, and then out through an ISR G2 router as it's going off to AT&T. Now, being able to give you all that visibility really helps network engineers to pinpoint where application problems may be happening or where their attention really needs to be focused from a quality of service perspective. There's really a nice synergy with LiveAction and the intelligent WAN. LiveAction has the ability to enable and deploy a lot of that cool technology like AVC and Medianet, quality of service, and many other technologies. We're able to analyze and troubleshoot critical applications within your network. And then by means of quality of service, we're able to fix those quality of experience issues. Now, this is a very unique tool within the industry, and being able to be focused very closely on the intelligent WAN is very key to action-packed networks and the LiveAction software.